Hi, and thanks so much for joining me for this full face of Sephora recommendations. If you'd like to see that, please keep watching. As promised, I let you know I was going to show you my recommendations in action. I think I was able to use almost everything, if not parts of palettes, but let's go ahead to try. Okay, let's go ahead. I have no makeup on right now, and let's go in with foundation. Actually, this took me a long time to figure out because I love so many foundations that are not carried at Sephora. But then I remembered La Mer. I love this foundation. I just have so many that I don't use it that much, which is why I forgot I had it. Buff 23A. We're using the Shiseido brush. It's a little bit tan for me, but let's see how it goes. I haven't worn this in a while. Oh yeah, there's that La Mer smell. So if you know that smell and you like it, some people really like it, but some people don't love the fragrance. And this does a really nice job, this brush, of moving it around so it's very second skin-like. So here's the side with foundation and without. So I think it looks a little bit deeper, just slightly deeper than my skin right here. I forgot how pretty this foundation was. When I'm testing so many foundations, I just don't get to appreciate them as much because I'm always kind of looking at the next one, testing it out. So you can see most of the imperfections have been at least blurred to some degree. Yeah, I have a little, too little, I don't know, little mini breakout right there for some reason. You can see my natural skin color has a little bit more pink though than this shade. There's just a slight olive tone. So that is it for the La Mer. Now I want to go in with concealer, and I actually have 4 because I was trying to figure out which one. I couldn't remember what went best with this shade, and I actually revisited my the concealer video where I ranked them, and Pat McGrath came out as the best one. But let me just check the color match here, because depending on what I'm wearing, sometimes it's Pat McGrath and sometimes it's Hourglass. So Pat McGrath and Hourglass. So let's see how warm the Pat McGrath is for this foundation, because that's kind of how I determine. I don't know where my brush went for concealer, so I'm just using this. But yeah, you can see the Pat McGrath pulls really, really warm. So if you like a warmer concealer, this does really well on the pores. Shade match is always tricky, so I'll show you Hourglass on this side if you were curious how this looked with the La Mer foundation. So I kind of used one of those for the Pat McGrath and the other one for the Hourglass. So I'm not mixing them. Yeah, I think the Hourglass shade goes better with it because the Pat McGrath is kind of sticking out. It's a little too warm. So I think like a blend might work. So I'm just kind of doing a little custom mix here. And then the Pat McGrath does do really well under the eye. I'm gonna have to mix this with something like the Armani. The one that I said I didn't really like, but I do like it as more of a brightener. So let's see. Let me just pat underneath. Okay, yeah, it's got a lot of color to it. So just, I'm gonna go light with this. And then maybe we'll go in with the Armani. Now overall, the best concealer for me, performance-wise, was Pat McGrath. But I have some pretty substantial discoloration. Well, actually, it's not even that bad now. I have discoloration though that I do try to address. So that's why if you want something higher coverage, I would go with this one. It also does really well over time. And then if you want something like a little bit more lightweight, not as serious of a coverage, but still a long life in terms of the wear, and you have oily skin, Hourglass is really nice. So I'm just gonna put a little bit of Hourglass here because I feel like it's needs a little brightening there. Let's go in with the Armani. Kind of like I used the, if you saw the, what was that video? The one where I used the La Prairie right here. I just want to do the same thing because this is the lightest of the shades. Oh, sorry, I don't think I was calling out shades. So this Armani is 5.25. The Hourglass is in Apricot, and the Pat McGrath is in LM12. Okay, so I'm just going to pat like this. Really quickly, if you have dry skin, I know people who have dry skin love this one. It's very creamy. Charlotte Tilbury, though, is my go-to no-fail powder when it comes to availability at Sephora. So I'm going to take a powder puff. Let's try this. I haven't tried it yet with a powder puff, applying this powder. I don't have a powder puff to recommend from Sephora. I don't know actually what they have, but I know people like the Laura Mercier puff a lot. This is just a Chanel. I'm going to powder under the eyes here. Okay, and then I want to go in with number 2 as well. Oh, let me show you them together. So that was 1. So if you didn't know what shade to pick, 1 works fine. It's actually a color in between the 2 would be best for me, but I'll go in with 2 as well on the exterior, and I kind of blend it with the interior as well. Interior. So here is number 2. Yeah, 2 can add a little bit of color if I'm not careful when it mixes with the foundation and concealer. Here's a good recommendation. I didn't think of that. I'm going to add it in here, but this is a great powder brush. It's soft. Maybe not my softest brush, but it's my softest powder brush. Like fluffy powder brush. So the base is done. Oh, that wasn't bad. 12 minutes. Let's do eyebrows. Okay, I don't have anything that compares to this Wonder Brow, so I just have to use the Wonder Brow, and then I'll talk about a couple things that I use with this. So this is key though, this Dior pencil, even though I really don't have to use it, because that Wonder Brow does a pretty good job of everything I need it to do. This does go in and correct though, and if you are someone who likes to just go in and fine tune, I mean, you can draw in your whole brow this way. It just takes so long, but it's possible. This is a great shade, 002 or 002. And just helps me fill in the gaps too. Sometimes that Wonder Brow will leave some like empty spots on my brows. Okay, then after that, sometimes my brows still get a little bit unruly. So then I go in with the Dior Show Pump and Brow 002 as well. This is a brow gel with color to it, so there are a few different options, I believe. When I do my brows, sometimes they get like stuck to my skin, and so I like to use this to kind of pull the hairs away from my skin so they're not laying so flat. I think they look a little bit more natural when they have a bit more three-dimensional appearance, not like stuck to my, because they will get stuck like flat to my skin, and it looks, yeah, doesn't look as natural. Let's go ahead with eyes now. So I was thinking, what are we going to do for eyes? And one thing that has been key is this Hourglass eye primer, because I'm starting to put shadow, or I've been putting shadow. I haven't started. I've been putting shadow above my crease, that whole area, so it just, everything blends more evenly with this primer on. And so I just put a little bit. Sometimes I make the mistake and put on too much, but I just want to put on a thin, just a thin veil. I do like to let that set for a little while before I go in, but while we're doing that, let's go and kind of contour the face. And this one has been such a go-to, this Grwm Terracotta Matte. It says it's a sculpting powder, but I use it as a bronzer because to me, sculpting powder is more like the Kevyn Aucoin, that one, where it's like a grayish hue. But this one, I use this as a bronzer, and it's beautiful. So even though I've had a chance to try so many new bronzers, this is one of the ones that I just keep returning to. I probably use this more than the other ones I've purchased from Sephora, I'm going to say. Yeah, so if you like this shade of bronzer, which I do, I gravitate towards Grwm bronzers anyway. I just think they're so pretty. It was created with more oily skin in mind, although I have to say I'm not oily on the exterior really at all. It's just in the center of my face. But that, I think, is one of the main differences between this and, say, something like that trio that I have. But it doesn't dry my skin out either. I think it's kaolin clay in here. Let's take this Ambient Lighting powder by Hourglass, and I would recommend these. These are so beautiful. So this one's a little bit more tan for me, but let's see how it goes. I want to just kind of buff this whole thing in. And I love dim light. I don't have it here right now. So I would recommend this, or dim light is really great for the interior of the face. Do I have that sitting here? Hold on, I've got to have something with dim light. Oh, you know what I have? I have that holiday palette. Okay, this is not Sephora, but I love this brush anyway. But yeah, it just kind of buffs everything in. So radiant light is pretty if you are more tan than me. Just kind of blend in the bronzer. Just softens everything. Yeah, it's so pretty. I mean, I used to put that all over my face. Actually, I think my very first video had that in it, and I put so much on, but let me just go get the dim light. Oh yeah, this has dim light. This is the holiday palette. So I'm gonna take dim light and diffuse light. So these two right here. Now I wouldn't recommend it for the other shades. I don't really love the other shades, but I have a whole video if you wanna see it. So I'm just gonna finish off with that powder in the middle. Okay. Yeah, it's kind of, when you're doing your makeup on camera, it's hard to really see what's happening over here until it's playback time, and sometimes it does not look amazing. Okay. Let's go ahead with, I wanted to grab for a matte palette. So I have this Sophisticate Charlotte Tilbury. So I'm going to take this brush, let me clean it a little, and I'm going to take this color right here, and I want to put that in the crease first because, or just like up above, just to build a little bit of, yeah, I just want to build a little bit of definition here with this matte before I go in with the shimmers. This one's a great one for all mattes available at Sephora, because even though it's cool, it looks cool to me because of the gray, I think this one, this color here, is a great shade for this area. Okay, now let's go ahead and put in, I really loved this color, so we're gonna go in with it again from the New Look palette, this mushroomy color. I actually wore this last night, and eyeliner and mascara, it was so pretty. I'm going to crease just a little bit because I liked the color that you see on the edge there. It's so pretty. Maybe we'll go in with this. I put this in the crease the last time, but let's put this on the edge, like the other part of my eye. Yeah, this is more of that aubergine shade. I don't have any brushes, eye brushes that I can recommend from Sephora. I just don't have experience with them. Ooh, I did not know we were going to go this dramatic today. That's kind of what happens when I'm just playing. When it comes to eyeliners, we're taking the aubergine underneath as well. I was going to use a couple of the palettes, but I guess I'm going with this one. What was I saying? Oh, eyeliners. I don't really have so many eyeliners to recommend to you. I mean, if you want something that's waterproof and some beautiful colors, I think Marc Jacobs does a good job. Okay, for eyeliner, we could go in with Copper by Laura Mercier. Let's try it. Let's see how bright it is. Might be too much, but we'll see. Okay, I'm just gonna go in lightly. This is really beautiful, but I feel like it's a little too warm for this. Yeah. I don't know. I love this, but I think it's a little too warm. So let's go over that. I'm just gonna take a little bit of this, that mushroomy color on my finger here, and I'm just going to dot it on top of the copper. So I'm gonna get that reflective quality, but it's not going to be so warm. It'll be a little bit cooler. Yeah, it just toned it down a little bit. There's a couple liquid liners I'm considering. So I love this Tom Ford one. This is the best liquid liner. Also, I like the Surratt one, the one in brown, which is like a dark brown. Maybe we should use the Tom Ford because I'm gonna go in with the Pat McGrath black eyeliner for the tight line. So let me do this. I'll be right back. Okay, this is one of those days where the wing kind of got bigger than intended, but I forgot that I was going to use this, so I don't really need to curl my lashes, but I did use the Surratt before I remembered. That's a really great eyelash curler in case you are looking for one. Let's go ahead with the mascara here. Okay, let's go in with the blush. Of course, I'm gonna go with this Tom Ford Inhibition. You know, I love this blush. It's just such an easy color to wear. I think it just brings life to the skin. It blends beautifully and it doesn't have shimmer. So I love that about it. Yeah, it's definitely not one of those blushes that brings about texture or anything like that. It's just beautiful. Yeah, one of my all-time favorite blushes. Yeah, I know a lot of you love this one as well. Okay, this does not have hummingbird powder on it. It just has the Charlotte Tilbury. I'm just going to blend it a little bit on the edges here. Sometimes I go too much with blush, so I have to have a little bit of powder standing by. Because I know it's so easy for me to put on too much. I'm going to go in with a lip liner. I don't usually wear lip liner, but if I do, I'll pull for this one. It's Patrick Ta this one's in She's Humble. I just like neutralizing the exterior here. Okay, and then let's go in with a Tom Ford shade, Indian Rose. It's just such a classic color. I love it. And then to warm it up just slightly, because you know I love a nice warm hue, I'm going to take this shade Ravish. It has just a little bit of warmth to it. The Holiday palette, we'll take the highlighter from that one. I forgot about this finishing powder in Soft Light. Okay, let me take a little bit of that Soft Light. Yeah, this is a reason why I thought, oh, I should have gotten the palette before and didn't realize I did have it. So you know I like a good peach tone. Just livens up my skin. Then the Charlotte Tilbury setting spray. Patrick Ta. Yeah, I didn't think I'd use this as much as I do, but it really does help just dry things quickly. So if you did not see my recommendations, I will list everything below again. So I hope that was helpful in case you are picking any of these up, just kind of different ideas how to use them, as well as if you were considering them and just kind of wanted to see them on. Now you got to see application. Everything here is really easy to use, except for maybe the winged liner. That just takes practice, but everything else, yeah, I just love all of these. And if I've had these for a while, I go back to them over and over again. And if they are newer, those are the things that I'm excited about. So let me know what you're picking up, what else I should be adding to my cart. I would love to know. You have amazing recommendations, so thank you so much. And that's it for today's video. So please take care of each other, stay well. If you enjoyed this video, if you learned something, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you next time. Thanks.